Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Jane's Fighters Anthology as we continue on with the aircraft showcases. So today we are moving on to the BAe Hawk. Now this is primarily a trainer aircraft, but it's seen a lot of use throughout the world, both as a trainer and as a light attack aircraft in some of the less well-funded air forces. And so we're going to be kind of doing an advanced training mission with the BAe Hawk to simulate that today. So, custom weapons load, no hostiles other than... we'll do a supply convoy. I'll give myself... we'll make them novice, because we're supposed to be training. Let's see here. That's actually a lot more than I thought I'd get to work with here. But yeah, we're just simulating a live fire training here. Okay. Kind of figured that, but ooh, we can take 3 packs. Nope. I assume we can only carry light weapons on the wingtips. Yeah, 200 pounds. Oh, let's undo that one, and we'll take... okay. Oh, there it is. We'll take a pair of cluster bombs there. So it's going to be, and then the only other thing I want to change up is, oh, we can't fit a larger fuel tank. We'll manage. So we'll go in with that. Now we should have, yeah, I wasn't expecting jammers, but yeah, we do have air-to-ground radar. And I forgot to pick the hostile side, so I see, I saw there was an M2 down there. That's unfortunate, but...
Attack vehicle.
Where is he, actually? Oh. Well, there's someone. Oh, they're so spread out. Oh, man. We'll take care of this, Oh, are you shitting me? I guess I was going a bit fast, so I can reset this mission. Oh man, but yeah, I was not pulling. Oh, actually, there we go. Oh, okay, that's unfortunate. So enemy forces will be Russian. We have 3 novice BAe Hawks. We'll start at 10,000 feet, clear weather, custom weapons, and supply convoy. Which hopefully will be more bunched up this time, but probably not. We'll take the same loadout. Where? Okay, I know... Wait. Nope, there it is. Okay. I don't know how I kept skipping over that, but... Alright, let's try this again. But without being stupid at dive bombing. Oh, they still get M2s? Alright, whatever. I tried. Alright, so we are going to climb a lot higher. I suppose I should have just set my altitude for, like, 15,000 feet, but... Okay. So now, we can pitch down.
Attack vehicle.
Oh, there they are. And 1. And 2. And 3. And 4. And it looks like the rest of my wingmen are going in for the dive bomb, too. Let's hope they steer clear of my bombs. There we go. Oh, this is nice to just watch everything slowly die. There we go, we got another M2 there. So there shouldn't be too much left now. And with the bombs gone, that will make that'll make us a bit more maneuverable, make it easier to pull out of a abortive dive here. I guess we'll pursue targets of opportunity here. And this guy's coming in for us. Oh, and he nicked us. That's fine. Alright, we'll just pull back out. As we should be. Yeah, we're out of his range now. And we can finish him off. The gun is actually surprisingly effective. I do want to take this opportunity to point out that it seems very clear that we are flying a light attack capable version of the BAe Hawk rather than a dedicated trainer variant. There we go. So that's all the trucks. I suppose if we really want to, we can go knock out this other M2. Which I guess I will, because why not? And then we're going to head back to our home base. And this should have also the effect of lightening our load, too. There we go. And, oh hey, it didn't glitch out when we ran through. So we're going to climb up to about 20,000 feet here. And then we will push over into level flight and land at the closest British base. Now, as far as the history of the BAe Hawk, it has its origins in a 1964 Royal Air Force requirement, Air Staff Target AST-362, for a new fast jet trainer to replace the full NAT. The Sepacat Jaguar was originally intended for this role, but it was soon realized that it would be too complex an aircraft for fast jet training, and only a small number of two-seat versions were purchased. Accordingly, in 1968, Hawker Siddeley Aviation began studies for a simpler aircraft, initially as Special Project 117, and this design team was led by Ralph Hooper. The project was funded by the company as a private venture in anticipation of possible RAF interest. The design was conceived as having tandem seating and a combat capability in addition to training, as it was felt the latter would improve export sales potential. By the end of the year, HSA had submitted a proposal to the Ministry of Defense based on the design concept, and in early 1970 the RAF issued Air Staff Target 397, which formalized the requirement for new trainers of this type. The RAF selected the HS-1182 for the requirement on 1st of October 1971, and the principal contract for 175 aircraft was signed in March 1972. The prototype aircraft XX-154 flew on the 21st of August 1974 from Dunsfold, piloted by Duncan Simpson, chief test pilot of HSA Kingston, reaching 20,000 feet in a flight lasting 53 minutes. All development aircraft were built on production jigs. The program remained on time and to budget throughout, something that is very rare these days, certainly. The Hawk T-1 entered RAF service in late 1976, and the first export Hawk 50 flew on the 17th of May 1976. This variant had been specifically designed for the dual role of lightweight fighter and advanced trainer, and it had a greater weapons capacity than the T-1. More variants of the Hawk followed, and common improvements to the base design typically included increased range, more powerful engines, redesigned wing and undercarriage, the addition of radar and forward-looking infrared, GPS navigation, and night vision compatibility. Later models were manufactured with a great variety in terms of avionics, fittings, and system compatibility to suit the individual customer nation. Cockpit functionality was often rearranged and programmed to be common to an operator's main fighter fleet to increase the Hawk's training value. And we can now level out here and go into kind of a cruise speed here. I think we'll land at Southampton there. In 1981, a derivative of the Hawk was selected by the United States Navy as their new trainer aircraft, designated the McDonnell Douglas T-45 Ghost Hawk. The design was adapted to naval service and strengthened to withstand operating directly from the decks of carriers. In addition to typical land-based duties, this T-45 entered service in 1994. Initial aircraft had analog cockpits, while later deliveries featured a digital glass cockpit. All airframes were planned to undergo avionics upgrades to a common standard. A major competitor to the Hawk for export sales has been the Dassault Dornier Alpha Jet. Aviation expert John W.R. Taylor commented, "What Europe must avoid is the kind of wasteful competition that has the Hawker Siddeley Hawk and an assault frigate Dornier Alpha Jet battling against each other in the world market." By early 1998, a total of 734 Hawks had been sold, more than 550 of which had been sold to export customers. Military customers often procured the Hawk as a replacement for older aircraft such as the BAC Strikemaster, the Hawker Hunter, and the Douglas A-4 Skyhawk. And we are decently far from the coast yet. Alright. During the 1980s and 1990s, British Aerospace, a successor company to Hawker Siddeley, was trying to gain export sales of the variable wing Panavia Tornado strike aircraft. Over countries such as Thailand and Indonesia, which had shown initial interest in the Tornado, concluded that the Hawk is a more suitable and preferable aircraft for their requirements. Malaysia and Oman canceled their arranged Tornado orders in the early 1990s, both choosing to procure the Hawk instead. Aviation authors Norman Palmer and Dana Bell stated of the Hawk, "Of the many similar designs competing for a share of the world market, the Hawk has been without equal in performance as well as sales." On the 22nd of December 2004, the Ministry of Defense awarded a contract to BAe Systems to develop an advanced model of the Hawk for the RAF and Royal Navy. The Hawk Mark 128, otherwise designated as Hawk T2, replaces conventional instrumentation with a glass cockpit to better resemble modern fighter aircraft such as the new mainstay of the RAF, the Eurofighter Typhoon. And in October of 2006, a £450 million pound contract was signed for production 28 Hawk 128s. Aircrafts made in flight occurred on the 27th of July 2005 from BAe Systems Wharton Aerodrome. According to BAe Systems, as of July 2012, they have sold nearly 1,000 Hawks, with sales continuing. In July of 2012, Australian Defence Minister Stephen Smith confirmed that Australia's fleet of Hawk Mark 127s would be upgraded to a similar configuration to the RAF's Hawk T2 as part of a major mid-life upgrade. The Hawk T2 was considered to be a competitor for the United States Air Force's TX program to acquire a new trainer fleet, but in February 2015, Northrop Grumman determined the Hawk's shortfalls made it ill-suited for the program requirements and dropped it as their offering. In May of 2015, Indian aerospace manufacturer Hindustan Aeronautics revealed that it was examining the prospects of performing its own Hawk upgrades, including armed light attack variants. The Indian Air Force, which were in the process of receiving trainer Hawks, built under license by HAL, were reportedly interested in the upgrade proposals, which would also include avionics and cockpit modifications. HAL has also stated that it aims to export combat Hawks to other countries in partnership with BAe. Missile developer and manufacturer MBDA may provide their ASRAAM and Brimstone missiles to arm the new attack type. Now, the Hawk is an advanced two-seat trainer with a tandem cockpit, a low-mounted cantilever wing, and is powered by a single turbofan engine. Unlike many of the previous trainers in RAF service, the Hawk was specifically designed for training. Hawker had developed the aircraft to have a high level of serviceability as well as lower purchasing and operating costs than previous trainers like the Jet Provost, and the Hawk has been praised by pilots for its agility, in particular its roll and turn handling. The design of the fuselage included a height differential between the two seats of the cockpit. This provided generous levels of visibility for the instructor in the rear seat. Each cockpit is fitted with a Martin Baker Mark 10 B00 rocket-assisted ejection seat. Air is fed in to the aircraft's rear-mounted Rolls-Royce Turbomeca Ador engine via intakes on each of the forward wing roots. During the aircraft's development, Hawker worked closely with Rolls-Royce to reduce the engine's fuel consumption to ensure a high level of reliability. Even within the development stages, a Hawk variant was intended to also serve as a single-seat ground attack fighter. Both the trainer and fighter models were developed with the export market in mind. On single-seat models, the forward cockpit areas, which normally houses a pilot, is replaced by an electronics bay for avionics and onboard systems, including a fire control computer, multi-mode radar, laser rangefinder, and forward-looking infrared. Some export customers, such as Malaysia, have extensive modifications to their aircraft, including the addition of wingtip hardpoint stations and a fittable in-flight refueling probe. Hawk was designed to be maneuverable and can reach Mach 0.88 in level flight and Mach 1.15 at a dive, thus allowing trainees to experience transonic flight before advancing to a supersonic trainer. The airframe is very durable and strong, stressed for plus 9 Gs. The normal limit in RAF service is plus 7.5 and minus 4 Gs. A dual hydraulic system supplies power to operate systems such as the aircraft's flaps, air brakes, and landing gear, together with the flight controls. A ram air turbine is fitted in front of the single tail fin to provide backup hydraulic power for the flight controls in the event of an engine failure. Additionally, a gas turbine auxiliary power unit is housed directly above the engine. The Hawk is designed to carry a centerline gun pod, such as the 30mm Aiden cannon, 2 underwing pylons, and up to 4 hardpoints for fitting armaments and equipment. In RAF service, Hawks have been equipped to operate the Sidewinder air-to-air missiles. In the early 1990s, British Aerospace investigated the possibility of arming the Hawk with the Sea Eagle anti-ship missile for export customers. In 2016, BAe Systems was developing the so-called Advanced Hawk with the new wings using leading-edge slats and potentially additional sensors and weapons, a head-mounted display, and a single large screen display in the forward cockpit. Now, the Hawk entered RAF service in April 1976, replacing the Folan Gnat and Hawker Hunter for advanced training and weapons training. The Hawk T1 was the original version used by the RAF, with deliveries commencing in November of 1976. Most famous users of the Hawk are the Red Arrow's aerobatic team, who adopted the plane in 1979. From 1983 to 1986, some Hawks were equipped as short-range interceptor aircraft. 88 T1s were modified to carry 2 AIM-9L Sidewinder air-to-air missiles, in addition to a 30mm Aiden cannon gun pod. These aircraft were redesignated as Hawk T1A. In a wartime scenario, they would have worked in collaboration with the RAF's Tornado F3 interceptors, which would use their Fox Hunter search radars and more sophisticated navigation systems to vector the Hawks against enemy targets. The Hawk subsequently replaced the English Electric Canberra for target towing duties. The Royal Navy acquired a dozen Hawk T1 T1As from the RAF. These are typically operated in a support role, often to conduct simulated combat training on board ships. During the 1990s and 2000s, 80 Hawk T1-1A aircraft were upgraded under the Fuselage Replacement Program to extend their operational lifespan. Sections of the center and rear fuselage sections were entirely replaced. In 2009, the RAF began receiving the first Hawk T2 in the long term. T2 aircraft will replace the aging T1s. Training operations on the Hawk T2 began in April 2012. In August 2011, a Red Arrow's pilot was killed when his Hawk T1 crashed following a display at the Bournemouth Air Festival. The inquest found G-force impairment may have caused the pilot to lose control. The Hawk T1 fleet was grounded as a precautionary measure and returned to flight status a few days later. In November 2011, the Red Arrow suffered another pilot fatality when the Martin Baker Mark 10 ejection seat fitted to the Hawk T1 activated while the aircraft was stationary. The veteran combat pilot died on ground impact when the ejector seat parachute also failed to deploy. This resulted in the UK Ministry of Defence implementing a ban on non-essential flying in aircraft fitted with ejector seats similar to those fitted in the Hawk T1 after the death. The ban was lifted for Tornado attack jets but remained on Hawk T1, Hawk T2, and Tucano flights while the RAF reviewed evidence on those aircraft. In October 2017, the RAF and Royal Navy operated 75 Hawk T1 and 28 Hawk T2s. According to the Ministry of Defense, The planned out-of-service date for the Hawk T1 was 2030, with the aircraft selected to meet the requirements of the Air Support to Defense Operational Training Program, beginning to replace the Hawk from 2027. However, in July of 2021, it was announced that all UK military units operating the Hawk T1 aircraft, apart from the Red Arrows, would see their airframes retired by the 31st of March 2022. In Canada, the Hawk, designated as the CT-155 Hawk, is used to train pilots for a frontline fighter aircraft. The aircraft is operated under the NATO Flying Training in Canada program, which was provided by the Military Aviation Training Division of Bombardier Aerospace, but transferred to CAE by acquisition in 2015. Plans to replace the Hawk in a new training program have been underway since at least 2012. As of 2021, the replacement program was the Future Aircrew Training Program. Alright, let's see. Are we getting close to our target? Getting there. We will. Ooh. It's a lot more maneuverable at this higher altitude. Alright, we are just going to pivot over. So, 030 or 300. Oh, wow, we're still on, we were still on, drop tanks, apparently. So, at least we don't have to worry about fuel too much. So, there we go. That should pivot us over to Southampton now. In January 1978, Britain and Finland announced a deal in which the Finnish Air Force was to receive 50 Hawk Mark 51s in 1980. These aircraft were built in Finland under license by Valmet. The Finnish Air Force was limited to 60 first-line fighter aircraft by the Paris Peace Treaty of 1947. By acquiring Hawks, which counted as trainers rather than fighters, capacity could be increased while continuing treaty compliance. These conditions were nullified during the 1990s by the breakup of the Soviet Union. 7 additional Mark 51As were delivered in 1993 through and 1994 to make up for losses. In June 2007, Finland arranged to purchase 18 used Hawk Mark 66s from the Swiss Air Force for 41 million euros. They were delivered in 2009 and 2010. Finnish Hawks have reportedly been armed with Soviet Volnia R-60 AA-8, as well as with AIM-9J and AIM-9M air-to-air missiles, Matra Type 155 SNEB rocket pods, unspecified British general-purpose bombs of multiple types, BKT 12.7mm machine gun pods, and Royal Small Arms Factory 30mm Aiden autocannon pods. Finnish Air Force acrobatics team, the Midnight Hawks, also uses the aircraft. Due to rising levels of metal fatigue, a major structural reinforcement program was carried out to extend the operational life of Finland's Hawks during the 1990s. Due to lifespan limitations, 41 out of 67 in Finland's total Hawk fleet were taken out of service between 2012 and 2016. The remaining aircraft are younger and thus are expected to be flying into the 2030s. In 2011, Finnish Mark 51s and Mark 66s underwent a series of upgrades performed by Patria, and these included the addition of a new cockpit 4000 glass cockpit, new software, and other life-extending modifications. And this upgrade program was completed in 2013. Let's see. Okay, we still got a little ways to go yet. On the 23rd of February 2008, the Hawk Mark 132 formally entered service with the Indian Air Force. After one of the most protracted procurements in India's history, 2 decades having elapsed between the initial interest and the contract signing on the 26th of March 2004. The IAF received 24 aircraft directly from BAe Systems, with deliveries beginning in November 2007, and further 42 Hawks assembled by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited between 2008 and 2011. In February 2008, India planned to order 57 more Hawks, with 40 going to the Indian Air Force and the remaining 17 to the Indian Navy. In July of 2010, it was announced that the IAF and the Navy would receive the additional 57 aircraft. The additional aircraft will all be built in India by Hindustan Aeronautics, continuing to work under license from BAe. On the 10th of February 2011, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and GE Aviation signed a contract under which GE Aviation will conduct the next 30 years of maintenance on the Hawk fleet. In 2011, the IAF was reportedly unhappy with the provision of spare components. In December 2011, BAe received a contract to provide India with spares and ground support. The first IAF Hawk HAT crashed on the 29th of April 2008 at 406 Air Force Station, Bidar, Karnataka. On the 3rd of June 2015, another Hawk HAT aircraft crashed near Baragora, close to the West Bengal, Odisha border. The Hawk fleet is based at IAF's Bidar Air Force Station in North Karnataka, about 700 kilometers from Bangalore. As of 2015, a total of 123 aircraft were on order by the Indian Air Force and 17 by the Indian Navy. An additional order of 20 aircraft is under negotiation. Alright, now we're starting to get this. In April 1978, Indonesia, seeking to increase its aerial capabilities, placed the first of multiple orders for the Hawk. The Indonesian Air Force received more than 40 Hawks in the 1980s and 1990s. In June of 1991, BAe and Indonesian Aerospace signed a major agreement for collaborative production of the Hawk, and more orders of the Hawk were anticipated. Further Hawk exports were eventually blocked due to concerns over Indonesian human rights, particularly in East Timor. During the 1990s, protests erupted across England over arming Indonesia, and pressure increased after the mass murder of the Belibo 5 journalists and Roger East came to light, and allegations of the use of Hawks during the Indonesian occupation of East Timor. The Hawks have been the backbone of the Indonesian Air Force, supplementing more advanced and expensive aircraft such as the F-16 Fighting Falcon. In September 2013, the Indonesian Air Force began receiving the KAI T-50 Golden Eagle, which has been reported as having been set to eventually replace the Hawks in service. In February 2016, it was announced that Indonesia's Hawk fleet was set to receive a new radar warning receiver self-defense system, aiding the type's use in light attack operations. BAe Hawk in use with the Indonesian Air Force crashed on the 15th of June 2020. The Royal Malaysian Air Force has 18 Hawk aircraft, consisting of 4 Hawk 108 export versions as training aircraft and 14 Hawk 208 as combat aircraft. On the 5th of March 2013, during the 2013 Lahad-Datu standoff, 5 Hawk 208, together with 3 American-made Boeing FA-18D Hornets, were employed in airstrikes on hideouts of the terrorist group Royal Security Forces of the Sultanate of Sulu and North Borneo, and Lahad-Datu Sabah, ahead of the ground assault by joint forces of the Malaysian Army and Royal Malaysian Police. Saudi Arabia acquired the Hawk under the Al Yamah arms deal with Britain, with a total of 50 Hawk Mark 65-65As ordered in contracts placed in 1985 and 1994, respectively. In August 2012, a deal for 22 Hawk advanced jet trainers, worth approximately $800 million, was announced. The AJTs would replace older models of Hawks in the Royal Saudi Air Force inventory. The Hawk is flown by the RSAF demonstration team. In February 2016, it emerged that Saudi Arabia had doubled the number of Hawk AJT aircraft it had ordered from BAe Systems, with an order for a further 22. This was revealed in the company's preliminary annual report for 2015. We reached an agreement with the Saudi export customer for the provision of a further 22 Hawk AJT aircraft, associated ground equipment, and training aids for the RSAF, which form part of an enhancement to the Kingdom's training capacity. Once in service, the Hawk AJTs will complete the replacement of the earlier Mark 65 and Mark 65A platforms. 22 of these Hawks are to be assembled locally in Saudi Arabia, the first of which was completed in March 2019. In the 1980s, 12 BAe Hawk T Mark 6060As were purchased for the Air Force of Zimbabwe. The purchase was supported by a £35 million loan from the UK to Zimbabwe. The Hawk deal also included the transfer of a number of used Hawker Hunters. In July of 1982, at least 1 Hawk was destroyed on the ground and 3 more heavily damaged during a dissident attack on Thornhill Air Base, Gawero. Zimbabwe's Hawks were used during the Second Congo War. Numerous airstrikes were conducted in support of the Congolese army against Rwandan, Ugandan, and rebel forces in 1998 through 2000. AFC Hawks played a decisive role in the defense of Kinshasa during the early days of the war. In 2000, the controversy over Zimbabwe's military intervention in the Congo and poor human rights record led to Britain imposing a total arms embargo on the nation, including spare parts for the Hawk. Due to the embargo, Zimbabwe has purchased 6 Chinese Hongdu K-8s as a substitute. And now I've got to start focusing here on prepping for my landing. So we're going to do that. Time compress to get down the altitude. Feeling pretty good about where our throttle's at right now. And there we go. And we will now line ourselves up with the runway. Alright, we are still losing airspeed, so I'm going to pump the throttle up a little bit more. And it looks like I'm coming in from the wrong way, but that's fine. I think they'll live. You can see by the yellow, yeah, it has 2 runways, and we're approaching from the wrong one. Alright, now we can drop the throttle again, I think.
Clear to land.
Drop it a bit more. Let's, there we go. Now I think we can pump it up to 35% to improve our, to decrease our rate of decline and, use the brake to kind of force us to keep losing altitude here. There we go, coming in nice and smooth. Probably one of the best landings I've ever done, to be honest. Oh, look at that. I think we're even going to touch down on the runway itself. Alright, we'll,
Welcome back.
there we go. I, up the engine thrust there at the end because it might have been just like a camera perspective thing, but it looked like we were falling way too darn fast. So now the increased thrust again, because it takes a rather large amount of thrust to taxi around on the ground, at least in this game. So we will taxi on over to apparently just using the runways and not the actual taxiways, but we'll taxi on over to parking spot here and watch our other wingmen land and hopefully stay landed. Oh, I'm going too fast now. Alright, let's calm that down a bit. And cut the throttle. And might just roll to a stop here. Yep. There we go. Now we can just wait for our wingman to land. During the 1980s, a prospective sale of 63 Hawk trainers to Iraq was considered by the British government. While the proposal had its proponents, it was controversial, as in a ground attack capacity, Iraq might have employed the Hawk against neighboring Iran and to oppress Iraq's own Kurdish population. There was also the concern that the Hawk could be potentially armed with chemical weapons. After considerable deliberation, the sale was blocked by then Foreign Secretary John Major. In 2010, Iraq entered talks with BAe for an order of up to 21 Hawks. In 1993, talks between BAe and South Africa's Danielle Aviation began regarding a replacement for the South African Air Force's aging Atlas Impala fleet. By 2004, Danielle had begun construction of Hawks under license from BAe. Components for other customers have also been produced by Danielle. On the 13th of January 2005, the first locally assembled Hawk conducted its first flight. It belonged to a batch of 24 trainers ordered by the SAAF. Now, as far as the variants for the Hawk, there are quite a few. There's the original Hawk T1, with deliveries commencing in November of 1976, and the RAF received a total of 175 of those. The Hawk 1A was modified with the intent on replacing the Hawker Hunter in the RAF's tactical weapons units, and a total of 89 aircraft were converted to carry 2 underwing AIM-9L Sidewinder air-to-air missiles and a centerline Aiden gun pod. This is also the variant used by the RAF's Red Arrows display team. The underbody gun pod is replaced by a fairing used to carry diesel fuel and dye for the display smoke system. The Hawk 50 was the original export trainer version and offered a limited attack capability. Finland, Indonesia, and Kenya ordered 90 of this variant. The Hawk 51 was the export version for the Finnish Air Force, with 50 ordered December of 1977, with the first 4 to be built by British Aerospace and remaining aircraft assembled in Finland. It was delivered between December 1980 to September 1985. The Hawk 51A, 7 Hawks were sold to Finland as a part of a follow-on order, powered by a Door 851 engine as used by the Hawk 51, but with structural wing modifications of later Hawks. The Hawk 52 was an export version for the Kenyan Air Force. Fitted with a braking parachute, 12 were ordered between the 9th of February 1978, or from February 1978, with deliveries from 1980 to 1981. The Hawk 53 was an export version for the Indonesian Air Force, with 8 ordered on the 4th of April 1978, with 5 more ordered in May 1981, and a further 3 in October 1981, and 4 in November 1982, resulting in a total of 20 aircraft delivered between 1980 and 1984, and 5 were repurchased by BAe Systems in 1999. The Hawk 60 was another export version, replacing the Hawk 50, and intended for conversion to weapons training. Weapons carriages increased versus the older types, and it is a 2-seater with uprated Rolls-Royce Adur 861 engines, and is capable of a level speed at an altitude. Of a level speed at altitude of 550 knots or Mach 0.84. And the T-45 Ghost Hawk is derived from this version. The Hawk 60 was an export version for the Air Force of Zimbabwe, which was fitted with a braking chute and provision for carrying a reconnaissance pod. 8 Hawks were ordered by Zimbabwe on the 9th of January 1981 and delivered between July and October of 1982. The Hawk 60A was a series of 5 Hawks that were sold to Zimbabwe as part of a follow-on order in 1990, and the aircraft were delivered between June and September of 1992. The Hawk 61 was an export version for Dubai and the United Arab Emirates Air Force. 8 were ordered but in the 30th of June 1981 for a price of $40 million and delivered between March and September 1983. A single additional attrition replacement aircraft was delivered in 1988. The Hawk 62 was intended to be an export version for Venezuela, but that order was canceled. The Hawk 63 was an export version for Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates Air Force. 16 were purchased on the 2nd of January 1983 for $180 million, including spares and maintenance support. Delivery occurred between October of 1984 and May of 1985. 15 Hawk 63s were upgraded to the Hawk 63A standard from October 1991 with the Adur 871 engine and advanced combat wing of the Hawk 100, with 4 underwing weapons pylons and wingtip missile rails, but retaining simpler avionics of the Hawk 63. 4 new build aircraft to the Hawk 63A standard were sold to Abu Dhabi as part of a follow-on order and delivered from 1995, and these were designated Hawk 63C. The Hawk 64 is an export version for the Kuwait Air Force, 12 ordered on the 31st of October 1983, and they were delivered between 1985 and 1986. The Hawk 65 is an export version for the Royal Saudi Air Force. 30 were ordered as part of the Al Yama arms deal in February 1986, with deliveries from August 1987 to October 1988. 20 were sold to Saudi Arabia as part of a follow-on order to an improved standard designated the Hawk 65A and delivered in 1997. The Hawk 66 export was an export version for the Swiss Air Force. 20 were ordered on the 20th of October 1987, with the first built by BAe and the remaining 19 assembled by the Federal Aircraft Factory at Emmen. delivery from November of 1989 to October of 1991. The Hawk 67 was an export version for the Republic of Korea Air Force, fitted with an extended nose of the Hawk 100 to accommodate avionics and a steerable nose wheel. 20 were ordered in July of 1991, with delivery by November of 1993. The Hawk 100 was an advanced two-seat weapons trainer with additional avionics and optional forward-looking infrared camera, a redesigned wing, and hands-on stick and throttle controls. Hawk 102 was an export version for Abu Dhabi United Arab Emirates Air Force, fitted with wingtip missile rails and Recall Prophet radar warning receiver. 18 were ordered in 1989 and delivered between April 1993 and March 1994. Hawk 103 was a lead-in fighter trainer for the Royal Air Force of Oman, fitted with FLIR and laser ranger and an extended nose, BAe Sky Guardian RWR and wingtip AAM rails. 4 were ordered on the 30th of July 1990 and delivered from December 1993 to January 1994. The Hawk 108 was an export version for the Royal Malaysian Air Force. This was also fitted with the BAe Sky Guardian RWR and wingtip AAM rails, and were ordered in December of 1990 and delivered between January of 1994 and September of 1995. The Hawk 109 was the designation for an export version for the Indonesian Air Force, of which 8 were ordered. The Hawk 115 was an export version for Canadian Forces, designated CT-155 Hawk in Canadian service. And the Hawk 129 is the export version for the Royal Bahraini Air Force, of which 6 were ordered. The Hawk lead-in fighter trainer is the version selected by the South African Air Force in December of 1999, and is also known as the Hawk 120 or the Hawk Lift. This variant is powered by the Adour 951. The Lift benefits from development carried out for the Australian Mark 127. Next generation Hawks 120, 127, 128 feature a new wing, forward and center fuselage fin, and tailplane. The aircraft have only 10% commonality with the existing first generation aircraft. The new variants also have 4 times the fatigue life of the original aircraft, and 24 aircraft will be delivered. The Royal Australian Air Force ordered 33 Hawk 127 lead-in fighters in June 1997, 12 of which were produced in the UK and 21 in Australia. This variant is also powered by the Adour 871. The Hawk 127 is operated by the RAAF's Number 76 Squadron and Number 79 Squadron, which are based at RAAF Base Williamtown and RAAF Base Pierce, respectively. Work to upgrade the RAAF's Hawks to a standard similar to the Hawk 128 standard began in 2014, and it is planned that the 2 squadrons will begin operations with these aircraft in 2017. The Hawk AJT, or Advanced Jet Trainer, differs from previous variants in that it features modern LCDs instead of conventional instrumentation and is powered by the Rolls-Royce Adour 951 engine. In 2012, orders were placed for the AJT version by the Royal Saudi Air Force and the Royal Air Force of Oman. Hawk 128, or the Hawk T2, is a version for the Royal Air Force and Royal Navy. The Ministry of Defense awarded its design and development contract to BAe Systems on the 22nd of December 2004. The T2 builds on the design of the Australian Mark 127 and the South African Mark 120s. The Hawk 132 is an export version for the Indian Air Force and was previously known as the Mark 115Y. BAe Systems delivered the final 24 UK-built Hawks to the IAF in November 2009. HAL handed over the first locally built Hawk 132s on the 14th of August 2008. These aircraft are powered by the Rolls-Royce Adour Mark 871 engine. Hawk 165 is an export version for the Royal Saudi Air Force, 22 of which were originally built in the UK by British Aerospace, with delivery completed in 2017, whilst another 22 aircraft currently being built locally in Saudi Arabia, with the first locally built aircraft delivered to the RSAF in June of 2019 and a further 7 by October of 2019. The Hawk 166 is an export version for the Royal Air Force of Oman, of which 8 aircraft were ordered in 2012 and built in the UK, with the first aircraft delivered in 2017. Yep, and our wingmen are taking off, unfortunately, but what can you do? The Hawk 167, or the Hawk T-2A, is an export version for the Qatar Emiri Air Force. 9 aircraft were ordered in 2018, with the first aircraft delivered in September 2021. The aircraft will be based at RAF Leeming to operate with the RAF on the joint RAF QEAF AGT training squad. We're almost through this, I swear. And finally, there's the Hawk 200, which is a single-seat, lightweight, multi-role combat aircraft for air defense, air denial, anti-shipping, interdiction, close air support, and ground attack. The Hawk 203 was an export version for the Royal Air Force of Oman. 12 were built. The Hawk 205 is a proposed export version for the Royal Saudi Air Force. The Hawk 208 is an export version for the Royal Malaysian Air Force, of which 18 were built. And the Hawk 209 is an export version for the Indonesian Air Force. 32 were built. As stated previously, the T-45 Ghost Hawk is a carrier-capable aircraft developed from the Hawk 6E for the United States Navy for use in aircraft carrier training. And there's also the Advanced Hawk, which is a joint venture by BAe Systems and Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. A single example of the aircraft was unveiled at the Aero India 2017 on the 14th of February 2017. It made its first flight in June of 2017. And I believe that covers all the operators, well, most of the operators, as well as all the variants. Some former operators include the Jordanian Air Force, the Kenyan Air Force. I think, yeah, those are the only ones listed as far as specifications go. Has an empty weight of 9,880 pounds, max takeoff weight of 20,000 pounds. It never exceeds speed of Mach 1.2 in a dive, typically maximum speed of Mach 0.84 at altitude, a range of 1,360 nautical miles, a service ceiling of 44,500 feet, and a thrust to weight ratio of 0.65. So that is the Hawk, and now we will end the mission here. And that will conclude us for this time. Hopefully next time maybe we get a little bit of a break with something that's a little less well used. But until then, thank you all for watching and stay tuned for next time and stay safe out there, and we'll see you then.